I seems to be passed out. I don't know. We're trying to find some party. A few males and females have been shot. On that, there's like 500 people.
All right, so today we're taking a deep dive into a case that's become kind of legendary in true crime circles.
Yeah.
The disappearance of Rachel Spencer.
Hmm.
You've sent over, honestly, like a pretty hefty stack of material, articles, forum discussions, even some archived news footage. So we're going to try to make sense of it all together just for you.
That was good.
Rachel was a 25-year-old aspiring journalist from Denver, and she vanished back in 1998.
Mm-hmm.
Now, disappearances, sadly, are not uncommon, but
Right.
what sets this one apart are the cryptic clues that Rachel left behind.
Oh.
It's almost like she wanted to be found, but only by someone who could crack the code.
What strikes me is how a case like this, even with so much information available, can still hold so much mystery. It really shows how one event can have countless interpretations, each one leading down a different rabbit hole.
Yeah, exactly. Before we get lost in those rabbit holes, though, let's paint a picture of Rachel's life before she vanished. She was described as bright, driven, someone who just had this insatiable curiosity. Yeah. Sounds like a natural fit for journalism, right?
Absolutely. And those personality traits might have been factors in her disappearance, right? Think about it. An investigative journalist, by nature, is drawn to digging for the truth. Sometimes that truth can be dangerous.
And speaking of digging, our sources mention Rachel was working on a personal investigative project leading up to her disappearance.
Oh.
No one seems to know exactly what she was looking into,
Right.
which just adds another layer to the puzzle.
Imagine if we knew the subject of her investigation. It could be the missing piece, right? Reveals a motive, maybe a connection to someone who might have had a reason to silence her.
Okay, so it's October 18th, 1998.
Okay.
Rachel tells her roommate she's meeting someone at a coffee shop downtown. Seems pretty normal so far, right?
On the surface, yes. But 3 days later, her car is found abandoned miles outside of Denver near a hiking trail. Inside, they find her journal. The last entry is chilling. Find me where the stars touch the river.
Okay, I'll admit, I got chills just reading that.
Yeah.
It's like something out of a thriller movie.
Right.
So how do we even begin to interpret a message like that?
Hmm.
Is it a literal location? A metaphor?
That's where things get really interesting. Let's consider the psychology behind cryptic messages. In some cases, they're a way for someone to exert control over a situation, to taunt investigators, or even to leave a trail, intentional or not. It's like they're saying, I'm in charge here.
You know, it reminds me of the Zodiac killer case. Those cryptic messages kept everyone on edge for years. But in Rachel's case, if someone did want to harm her, wouldn't it make more sense to, just make her disappear without a trace? Why all the theatrics?
That's a good question. Perhaps the goal wasn't to kill her, but to frighten her into silence. Think about it. Leaving such a cryptic message could be a form of psychological manipulation, a way to keep Rachel off balance and guessing.
Okay. But there's more to this story than just the journal entry. We also have that strange 27-second call made from a payphone near where her car was found. It's like a blip on the radar. Who was she talking to, and why was it so short?
It could have been a final desperate plea for help, or maybe a prearranged signal to someone.
Yeah.
Then again, it could have been staged, right?
Yeah.
To throw off the investigation. The fact that it was so brief, just deepens the mystery.
And then 7 years later, another curveball.
Oh, wow.
A hiker finds a notebook hidden near, you guessed it, the river.
Okay.
It's full of Rachel's writing. More cryptic passages, sketches. It's like she was trying to communicate something, but in a language we can't decipher.
Now, the location where the notebook was found is key. Why the river? Think about criminal psychology for a moment. Perpetrators often exhibit territoriality. They're drawn back to the scene of the crime, either literally or symbolically. Could this have been a way for someone connected to Rachel's disappearance to revisit the scene, to relive the event?
And to make things even creepier, the notebook ends with a chilling line. He watches, he waits, he knows. It's like she was aware of someone stalking her, someone who might have been involved in her disappearance.
Absolutely. That one sentence introduces the very real possibility that Rachel was being watched, perhaps for some time before she vanished.
Yeah.
And that brings up a crucial question. Was her disappearance planned, or a crime of opportunity?
All right, so let's recap what we have so far.
Okay.
A missing, aspiring journalist, A cryptic journal entry, a mysterious phone call, and a hidden notebook filled with more questions than answers. It's a lot to untangle.
Exactly. But amidst all this mystery, a few prominent theories have emerged from the investigation. Each one tries to connect the dots in a different way, to find a pattern in the chaos.
And those theories are a great place to start digging deeper. The first one centers around Rachel's work as a journalist. Her notes mention powerful individuals, which hints at the possibility that she might have uncovered something dangerous, something someone wanted to keep buried.
It's a plausible theory. Investigative journalism can be risky business.
Yeah.
Think about reporters who've been targeted for exposing corruption or uncovering secrets. They often face intimidation, threats, even violence. Could Rachel have been caught in a similar situation?
But wouldn't those powerful individuals have an easier way to silence her? It seems like leaving such a trail of clues would be incredibly risky, almost sloppy.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Perhaps the intention wasn't necessarily to harm Rachel, but to frighten her, to send a message. The cryptic messages could be a way to exert psychological control, to make her think twice about continuing her investigation.
So the cryptic messages could be more about intimidation than a genuine desire to lead someone to her.
Right.
Interesting. But we also have to consider the possibility that Rachel chose to disappear, that she staged the whole thing, right?
It's a theory that can't be completely ruled out.
Yeah.
However, those who knew Rachel well insist that she had no reason to vanish.
Right.
She had a promising career, no financial troubles, even travel plans with friends. It doesn't quite fit the profile of someone who wants to erase their past.
Plus, staging a disappearance takes a lot of planning and a strong motive. And from what we've gathered, Rachel didn't seem to have either. Why go through all that trouble?
Right.
Especially leaving those clues if she was trying to stay hidden. Seems counterproductive, right?
You're hitting on a key point. Staging a disappearance is a deliberate act, one that usually requires meticulous planning and a clear motive. And in Rachel's case, that motive seems to be lacking.
All right. So we have one theory that focuses on a potentially dangerous investigation and another that suggests a staged disappearance.
Right.
What's the third theory?
This one's a bit more unsettling. Some believe Rachel's case could be connected to other disappearances from the same period, particularly those that share a similar element. Cryptic clues left behind.
Okay. So we're talking about a potential serial connection.
Yeah,
That definitely adds a whole other level of complexity and honestly fear to this story.
it does. The sources mention at least 3 other young women who vanished under similar circumstances around the same time. If there's a connection, it suggests we're dealing with someone who's organized, methodical, and derives some kind of satisfaction from leaving those clues behind.
Which makes that line from the notebook, he watches, he waits, he knows, even more chilling.
Yeah.
It's like we're getting a glimpse into the mind of someone who's been studying their victims, maybe even enjoying the fear they're causing.
It certainly adds a sinister layer to the case. If there is a serial connection, it raises the stakes considerably. We're no longer just looking for a missing person. We're potentially dealing with a predator who might still be out there. So we're looking at 3 distinct theories.
Right.
Each one a potential path through this tangled web.
Yeah.
It's like assembling a jigsaw puzzle, but with pieces missing, forcing you to imagine what might fit.
It's definitely a brain twister.
Right.
And just when you think you're starting to see a pattern,
Right.
something else pops up to challenge your assumptions, like that last confirmed sighting of Rachel, for example.
Ah, yes, the late-night convenience store stop. The sources mentioned a night shift worker who claimed to have seen someone matching Rachel's description. She was apparently distressed, bought a bottle of water, and left quickly.
Exactly. It's a small detail, but if this sighting is accurate, it adds a layer of complexity to the timeline. It suggests Rachel might have traveled to that area willingly, or at least without any sign of a struggle.
Right, and if we try to map her movements that night,
Yeah.
this convenience store sighting becomes a crucial point. It's a shame the security footage was already recorded over by the time the police investigated. Talk about frustrating.
It really highlights how technology,
Yeah.
or the lack thereof at the time,
Right.
can impact an investigation. Think about it, if we had access to high-resolution footage from that night,
Right.
we might have a clear image of who she was with,
Yeah.
or at least get a better sense of her emotional state.
Absolutely. We're talking about a crucial moment, frozen in time. But the details are blurry. We can see the outlines, but not the specifics that could hold the key to unlocking this mystery. It's like trying to read a faded photograph.
It's a reminder of how much we rely on technology these days to solve crimes.
Yeah.
But back then, investigators had to rely more on witness statements, physical evidence.
Right.
It must have made their job even more challenging.
It definitely adds to the complexity of cold cases like this. We're left to work with fragmented information,
Yeah.
trying to piece together a narrative that makes sense. And that's part of what makes these cases so fascinating, so compelling. We're all drawn to the challenge of solving the puzzle,
Right.
of finding order amidst the chaos.
So where do we go from here? Is there any hope of finding answers after all this time? It's been over 2 decades since Rachel vanished.
There's always hope. Remember those advancements in forensic science we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
The sources mentioned that authorities are now testing DNA from the notebook. Imagine the possibilities if they find a match after all this time.
That would be incredible. It could lead them to the person who left the notebook, or maybe even connect them to Rachel herself.
Exactly. DNA technology has revolutionized how we investigate cold cases. What was once considered impossible is now within reach.
Right.
It's a testament to the dedication of investigators and the power of science to shed light on even the darkest mysteries.
It's amazing to think that something as tiny as a DNA sample could be the key to unlocking this entire case. And speaking of digging deeper, we can't forget the role of online communities in keeping cases like Rachel's alive. People are out there analyzing the evidence, sharing theories, and sometimes even uncovering new leads.
The internet has become this incredible tool for citizen detectives.
Yeah.
It allows people from all over the world to connect, share information, and collaborate on solving mysteries. It's like a global brain working together to crack the code.
Right. And sometimes that collective effort can lead to breakthroughs that traditional investigations might miss. It's like crowdsourcing justice in a way.
And in Rachel's case, there's been a recent development that's causing quite a stir online. The sources mention an anonymous tip claiming that a man who was seen with Rachel days before her disappearance has been living under a new identity.
Hold on. So someone might have information about Rachel, but has been keeping it secret all these years.
Yeah.
What could their motive be for coming forward now after all this time?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Perhaps their conscience is finally getting to them. Maybe they're seeking redemption, or perhaps they're afraid for their own safety.
Or could this be a deliberate attempt to mislead the investigation? Maybe they're trying to protect themselves or someone else.
We have to consider that possibility. Anonymous tips can be invaluable, but they also need to be treated with caution. Investigators will need to verify the credibility of the tip and determine whether it's a genuine lead or a deliberate attempt to derail the investigation.
It's like they're navigating a minefield of information, trying to separate fact from fiction.
Yeah.
Every piece of information, every lead has to be carefully examined.
You hit the nail on the head. It's about critical thinking. Evaluating the evidence, considering all angles, and being wary of jumping to conclusions. It's too easy to get swept up in speculation, especially with a case as captivating as Rachel's.
Okay, so let's pause for a moment and recap what we know so far.
Okay.
We have a young, ambitious journalist who vanished without a trace. We have a series of cryptic clues that could be literal, metaphorical, or intentionally misleading. We have 3 main theories: a dangerous investigation, a staged disappearance, and a potential serial connection. And now we have this anonymous tip that could either be a game changer or a dead end.
It's a lot to absorb, for sure. What stands out to you as the most compelling piece of this puzzle? What's catching your attention?
It really makes you think about the choices people make, right, when they're faced with danger or uncertainty. If you were in Rachel's shoes, would you leave a trail of cryptic clues, hoping someone would understand?
Right.
Or would you try to vanish without a trace, leaving everyone to wonder what happened?
It's a question that delves into the heart of human psychology. How we react under pressure.
Yeah.
The decisions we make when we feel threatened. It's fascinating and terrifying, all at the same time.
And what about the people Rachel left behind? Her family, her friends.
Right.
They've been living with this unanswered question for over 2 decades. It's hard to even imagine the pain of not knowing.
Yeah.
The constant wondering if she's out there somewhere.
The impact of a disappearance like this ripples outward. It affects not just those closest to the victim, but the entire community. It creates a sense of unease, a loss of security, a chilling reminder that even in ordinary life, the unimaginable can happen.
It's a stark reminder of how fragile life can be,
Yeah.
How quickly things can change. Makes you want to hold your loved ones a little closer and appreciate every moment you have with them.
I think that's why cases like Rachel's resonate so deeply with us. They tap into our deepest fears, the fragility of life, the search for meaning in the face of the unknown.
So where do we leave things with the Rachel Spencer case? We have these tantalizing clues, these compelling theories, but still no definitive answers. It's almost like the mystery itself has become part of her story.
That's the nature of cold cases, isn't it?
Yeah.
They often leave us with more questions than answers. But that doesn't mean we should give up on the search for the truth. As technology evolves, new information emerges, there's always a chance for a breakthrough.
And maybe, just maybe, someone listening right now knows something that could crack this case wide open. Perhaps they've been holding on to a piece of the puzzle, afraid to speak up. But it's never too late to come forward, to share what you know and potentially bring peace to those who have been searching for answers for so long.
Couldn't agree more. And for those of you who are intrigued by this case, who want to delve deeper into the mystery, there are resources available. Online forums dedicated to Rachel's case, documentaries that explore the evidence and the theories. It's a rabbit hole worth exploring if you're drawn to the intricacies of cold case investigations.
Absolutely. If this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to keep digging, keep asking questions. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to uncover the missing piece of this puzzle.
One final thought I want to leave you with. The Rachel Spencer case, like so many other unsolved mysteries, reminds us of the enduring power of the human spirit, the relentless pursuit of truth, the unwavering hope that even in the darkest of times, answers can be found. It's a testament to our capacity for empathy, our need to understand the world around us, and our refusal to let the stories of the missing be forgotten.
And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Rachel Spencer case. Keep those minds churning, keep those theories coming, and who knows, maybe one day the truth about Rachel will finally come to light. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, stay curious.